Welcome to the Missoula podcast. We're excited to be here.
I want to talk analytics.
This is a segment we call Brandon's Analytics.
It's our newest segment. I am shocked. Stephen, listen to this. Like we've talked before that the podcast, we've got listeners in Germany, France, United Kingdom, a little bit.
Yep.
I don't know where these listeners find us. Germany, we had Jennifer Ketty on. She played pro volleyball there. She's a legend. Probably her teammates tuning in.
Sure.
But listen to this. We have listeners in Taiwan, United Kingdom, Germany, Canada, France, Sweden, South Africa, the Netherlands, and Australia. Like the Missoula podcast is going global. I don't get it.
I don't get it either. And we've asked multiple times for people from those countries to reach out to us. How did you find us? Why are you listening? We're good. We like it.
I mean, yeah, you can keep listening, not like.
No, we're not like trying to kick you out, but it's just wild to us. So thank you, our foreign listeners out there. It's awesome.
Speaking of Australia, have you ever had Vegemite?
No.
You know what Vegemite is?
Vegemite?
Yeah, it's like this really like salty, like buttery spread. Like we have peanut butter in America. They have Vegemite. I've had it once. It was nasty. Horrible. If you're listening from Australia, come at me, bro. Change my mind on my stance on Vegemite. I don't even know where you get it. Grocery store? Yolks?
Orange Street Food Farm.
Do you know I've never been to Orange Street Food Farm? Never stepped foot into that store.
You are the worst Missoulian ever.
Well, I go by there often because number one Euros is across the street.
Yeah.
And
classic.
Phenomenal.
By the way, we should get them on the podcast. I love that place.
We should do that. Have them bring some French fries in.
Yeah.
Arguably the best French fries in Missoula, in my opinion.
Transition. Orange Street Food Farm. Truzzolino. Tamales.
Yeah.
Got it. Are fantastic. So maybe the demographic we don't have enough of is Butte, Montana. Truzzolino. I can't get this. Tamales comes from there.
Okay.
Nathan Truzzolino on the podcast today. Nailed it. Couldn't have said it any better.
You're right. And this is not the Butte podcast. This is the Missoula podcast.
But we love Butte.
We love Butte.
We do.
Yeah. There's way worse cities in Montana. We love Butte. Nathan, incredible story. Family business. He has other businesses. I mean, true entrepreneur.
Yes.
He's not even really involved in the tamale business.
No. He's
got Missoula Janitorial. He's got a new startup that we talk about, which is just fascinating. I love his mascot for his new business. We'll listen to the podcast to get that. But thanks again for tuning in wherever you are around the globe. This is the Missoula podcast with today's guest, Nathan
Truzzolino.
Take a listen.
Nate, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to have you.
You're
got an amazing story and cannot wait to jump in.
Yeah.
What can I start?
You're
I'm going to take it.
Yeah,
This one was really on my heart.
Go for it.
Well, you said I could start. No,
yeah.
I'm going to start this over from the beginning. Nate, welcome to the show. Tell us what's the most challenging thing about being in janitorial?
Doing the work, showing up. I mean, I think there's a quote out there that's like, showing up is 80% of the work, or the 80% of getting there is success is showing up. So getting people to be consistent, hiring employees that will be consistent. A lot of people that we hire for janitorial stuff, it's their second gigs. They're doing it on the side. So getting people to buy in and do the job, because, when you break it down, janitorial work is, I call it mindless work. It's like you're sweeping, you're mopping, you're cleaning. You can do that on autopilot. You kind of need people to buy in. And that's kind of been the hardest part, is just getting people that really want to do it.
How do you get people to buy in? What's your tactic around that?
It's coming down now into that interview process of being really kind of focused on why people want to do the job. Why do you want this? How, experience, and just finding those people that you start to tell, like, okay, this person is doing it for the right reasons. Whereas some people will be doing it just to, fill up time or something like that. So, no, it's diving deep into that interview process and getting to know people beforehand.
I want to hear the story and how you got into janitorial, but let's go back to the beginning of time. Sure. Where are you originally from?
So I'm originally from Butte, America. Born and raised. 24 years there. Did all the normal Butte stuff. My family started a tamale business in like 1889. So
I
yeah, I
knew I
started off.
recognized your last
Yeah, so
name.
Truzzolino
Yeah.
Tamales. My
Yeah.
uncle runs that now. Um,
Were you a Butte High or a Butte Central guy?
Butte High guy. So
Okay.
yeah, played sports. Wasn't great at it, but definitely played. So yeah, Butte High was great.
And then you went to school. You went to tech, or did
Yeah, I
you?
went to Montana Tech.
Okay.
Graduated there from IT and business management in 2011, and then moved to Phoenix in 2000. Right after that.
What were your plans with that degree? What were you wanting to set out and accomplish? Or
I
was
don't
that-
know, man. It was weird because when I was in college is right when the housing crisis happened, and everyone was panicking about like, how are we going to get jobs? What are we going to do? And so I got this opportunity right after college to work for a default prevention company in Phoenix to be in their marketing department. So I moved down there, which is at that time was really weird because the housing crisis was going on, and it was just empty houses everywhere you went, and it was like they were just giving away. It was, and then you look at now, like the complete opposite of everything. But yeah, it was a crazy time. Everyone was kind of worried about jobs, so I just snatched the first one I could get, and it brought me down there, and it was a good experience. But decided in 2013 to move back to Montana, and was looking for a job to try to get back to Butte, but then found an opportunity in Missoula, and thank God, I love this place. So landed back here and been here ever since.
What was one of your first memories of Missoula?
So being from Butte is a weird experience because one of the first things I remember, and this is going to sound weird, is coming into Missoula. So you go through Hellgate coming from the west, or from the east, and you're going west, and you get on close to Van Buren, and then you get past Orange Street on the highway, and then you just look on Missoula, and it's nothing but green. And to me, I was like, what are those? And it's trees. Like, there's
little
no
different than
trees in
Butte.
Butte.
Yeah.
No, the whole place is trees. And remember, like, kind of like asking my dad, I was like, what is this? And, like, there's more trees than houses, but it's like, no, there's just trees everywhere. And that's my first like memory of Missoula is just
That's
green.
awesome. I love it.
And just coming from a place where it's just a hill and dirt, and you're like, oh yeah, trees are great, man.
Yeah, Berkeley Pitt's not as beautiful as
No, it's got its
trees in the mountains of
it's
Missoula.
got its traits, but not beauty is not one of them. No.
So what was bringing you back to Missoula? I mean, you wanted to come to Montana. What was
Sure.
that job that you took?
Oh,
initially?
I took a job at Enterprise Rental Car,
Ooh.
and I will go on record saying that was the worst job I ever had in my entire life. But I think you're both in sales, right?
Yeah.
So you got to believe in the product that you're selling. Not for an instant did I believe what I was selling. Giving people rental cars, great, but they were just pushing these terrible insurance stuff on people who didn't need it, little old ladies who had just gotten wrecks, and it was like, oh my God, I can't do this.
Yeah.
The best part of that job was, Enterprise's famous saying is, we'll pick you up. I got to know Missoula so well through that. I knew, like, I found out where everything was in this town. So that was the best part of that job, but it was terrible. It was a terrible job.
How long did you do that?
6 months. Like, like it really kind of hurt my heart to like give up on something within a year, but it was so bad to where I was like,
I can sense you still have some PTSD. Like,
dude, it's
So Sunday nights were like really the Sunday scaries were in full.
yeah,
effect.
and it's one of those jobs that like Monday sucked and Friday sucked, and then so it was like you were off late on Friday and you were in early on Monday, and I was like, oh my God, I can't do this job, man. So I bailed on that pretty quick.
That's
so.
awesome.
Yeah.
Where'd that take you?
It took me to TV sales, which was an awesome job. So I worked in media for 6 years after that.
Oh.
Yeah, I landed at NBC Montana here in town, the NBC station.
Yeah.
And I was there for 6 years, and it was awesome. I loved that. Great support staff there. Ran into and met so many good people, which really kind of attracted me to your guys' podcast. Was essentially what you're doing is selling. You just get to know people, you get to know their background. And what I always kind of joked about in sales was you go to like a bakery and you get to talk to the owner and you find out he's got a degree in nuclear engineering. And you're like, how the hell did you start a bakery?
Yeah.
And then you just go through that whole path. And that's what essentially you guys do, which is awesome. So yeah, sales, I never thought I'd be good at it. I never thought I'd like it, but it turned out to be one of those things that it's like, it gave me the freedom to be flexible with my schedule, but it also showed me that the harder I work, the more money I'm going to get. And there's not many jobs out there like that. but it's a learning process. You're not good at it first. If you do think you're good at it first, you're lying to yourself.
Yeah, right.
But it takes a lot of training, and it takes a lot of discipline and a lot of failure. I mean, that's the biggest part. Is I had a boss there who gave me one of the best advice I've ever had in my life. Was I had a really bad day. I went over to Butte to sell to a bunch of people, and like nobody showed up. I didn't get any sales, and of course, I wasted 2 hours going back and forth. And I went back to his office and kind of tail between my legs, and I was like, "Hey, bad day," And he was like, "You know what?" He's like, "Sometimes the best education is an expensive one." He's like, "You're never gonna let this day happen again, are you?" I was like, "No." He's like, "There's an expensive lesson to learn, but those are important. You got to learn those things." So, yeah, I learned so many great things in that job that translated into what I'm doing now.
Is
and
that
just being
when you made
resilient.
the switch? Did you come out of TV sales into
Yeah,
Missoula
absolutely.
Janitorial?
Yeah. So,
So-
I was a weird stage in my life where I felt like I was kind of backed into a corner. I wasn't feel like I was progressing at all because I had gone from sales into management, which I should have never made that move because I love sales so much. But it was a good opportunity at the time. So I felt like I was just not progressing.
I
at
got to
all.
ask you, why janitorial? Like, I grew up in a household where like I had chores and had to vacuum and clean, and like that was not fun. Like, your Mondays at Enterprise were my everyday as a kid. And like, the concept of, hey, I want to mop floors.
Right.
Like, where'd that come from?
No, that's perfect. I mean, people like me need people like you. Absolutely. So,
Well, I got a job for you.
yeah. Well, in college, I worked for the dorms.
Okay.
And part of that was being on the janitorial team. And it was just one of those things that I liked doing. And
And also, do you enjoy it? Do you like
yeah,
dumping
absolutely.
garbage, washing floors?
Yes. Yeah. It's one of those things where I plug in the headphones, put a book on and podcast on, and you just go. And it's one of the best things that you can do. And I love doing it.
I'd imagine pretty low stress, low anxiety.
Yeah. Especially the way we do it. We focus strictly on commercial accounts,
Okay.
so you almost know exactly what you're getting into every day versus like a residential one or
Sure.
something like that. So yeah, that is low stress where
Yeah.
it's like, okay, this account's going to be like this. Get in there, get your work done, get out. So yeah. So I started that business as kind of like a side hustle to kind of dig myself out. I felt like financially I wasn't doing well. I had a relationship that was kind of falling apart, and it really kind of made me pull myself up by my bootstraps and make sure that like, hey, I had a loss of control in my life, and this was something I could control. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. I had met a guy who started a janitorial business who was not the brightest kid in the world, and I was like, if this guy can do it, I can do it. And then it just turned out from there. So 7 years later.
Let me
here
guess,
we
he
are.
was from Anaconda, right?
Nah, he was from Dillon, right?
Oh, love it.
No,
Yes.
I have no quips with Dillon.
Yeah.
Dillon, I love Dillon.
Sure.
Anaconda
Well
and
played. That was awesome.
yeah, Anaconda and being a Butte kid, we hate Bozeman.
Sure.
Bozeman's
Bozeman, yeah.
number one rival for
Yeah.
sure. So no qualms with Dillon, man.
I appreciate that. What were some of those early mistakes as you're transitioning out of sales? Well, I mean, you're still doing sales, but of being the main guy.
Sure.
Yeah, this is your business. What were some of those initial pitfalls you made?
So the biggest one that I made and that I'm still making that I'm working towards is letting go. So I'm an owner operator. So I like doing the work while also owning the business. I have a hard time letting go of the work and trusting that people are going to do what I hired them to do. So that's my biggest.
I mean, you've
issue
got
right
certain
now.
expectations,
Absolutely.
and you want to make sure they're delivered, and it's easier to just do it yourself,
Right.
than is what you're saying.
Yeah, and being the owner, of course, I have more vested interest into things being successful.
Yeah.
Whereas employees don't always have that, which is I was an employee and I was that way too. So yeah, just building that confidence within myself and within the employees that they're going to do what I ask them to do, and then letting go of these certain accounts. Like, here you go, hand it off. So that's what I'm working on right now, and it's taken a lot of work, and it's been also difficult but freeing.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we can move on.
Why? Maybe I missed it, but why janitorial? Like, out of every
Oh,
opportunity you had, like, why?
Absolutely.
Why
So
was that the route?
it
you
was the
chose?
thing that was that I knew that I knew I was good at, and it was something that I knew there's a need for it. There always
Yeah.
is.
For sure.
Bradshaw that you had on here last time, he spoke about that where like he wanted to get into businesses that there's always a need for. There's always a need for someone to clean. There's always a need for someone to mow
Yeah.
lawns, So
Find a need and fill it.
yeah.
And that's
exactly. So it was one of those things that I knew I was good at. I knew I could do. And then I knew that no one would outwork me on. So I was like, okay, I'm not the smartest, I'm not the brightest, but I won't be outworked. So that's where I went. And
those Butte
do what you
kids
know.
are
Yeah.
Yeah.
bullheaded.
We drink beer and we work hard.
That's right. Yeah. So it's one of those things that I just knew how to do.
Yeah.
So
where did you just start knocking on doors of businesses?
yeah.
Trying to find your first job?
I got a great opportunity with working at the news station.
Oh, yeah.
They let me clean there, and that they were my first client. And it was like, thank God, because it was like I made so many mistakes there. It was like I bought like the wrong equipment, I bought wrong materials, and it was like I got to learn on the job, which was kind of nice. And then when I decided to leave and go full time, they were so gracious and like, yeah, go do your thing. So it was, yeah, it started from that, and then my sales experience kicked in of being just like, hey, knocking on doors, emailing people, calling people. I got so many people who were like, yeah, come in, do a bid, check it out. And that's another thing I had to learn was like, how do you do a bid? How do you price this out correctly?
Right.
So it was one of those things that you learn as you go. You make mistakes, but those mistakes are so important to learn from.
How do you figure out your pricing? Is it a square footage? Is it number of employees, office space?
Right.
How do you?
Well,
Every industry is different in terms of what you're cleaning.
And everyone does it different, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people do it by square footage. I do it by time. So I walk into a place like this building. I was like, this place might take me 2 hours to do. I have a certain price point I want to hit. I want my margins to be here. It depends on like if you're going to provide your own toilet paper and stuff. That's more cost on you. Stuff like that.
Okay.
So yeah, you find out your system that works for you, and it works out how you want to run your business.
And are you still operating? I mean, you're the owner. Are you still cleaning?
Yeah, absolutely.
Pushing brooms?
Yeah. So I'm a late night guy. So I do my stuff at night on the weekends, and but I'm slowly letting go.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
it's kind of turning into
Good for
this
you.
nice phase of my life.
Do you have a family?
I do. Yeah. So I have a wife and 2 kids.
Okay.
So
So what's that dynamic with
it's
kids get home from school and you leave for work?
So I have a 2-year-old, and when he
Okay.
was born, and a 7-year-old daughter, and my 2-year-old's a boy. When he was born, I got to be with him all day up until he was 1.5. It was awesome. So I got to be like a stay-at-home dad, which was pretty cool, which a lot of people don't get to do. But that was also hard by working nights, getting a couple hours of sleep, waking up with the kid, being with him all day, napping when he naps. So he's in daycare now, which is nice. So I get my daytime hours open again. But with a family, it's one of those things you just adapt. And my wife knew going into this relationship that this was my schedule, this was my life, and thank God for her, because she's like, okay, we'll work around it, and we find our time, which is another thing that you find is important, is you maximize these times that you have together.
Sure.
We try not to take it for granted as much as you do when both of you are like a 9-to-5 job.
I mean, managing that, and I mean, just running a small business isn't easy. I mean, you got 7 employees where you're now responsible for them and their, employee satisfaction with their job, and how that's a lot to take on. I mean, especially with a young baby at home. And
that's they say that's the greatest job to have, and it is. Being a parent is the greatest job, and it's also the hardest. But these employees are also like kids. It's like you kind of have to, you got to massage them a little bit, especially with the job market that we've had lately, where you find a good person and you try like hell to keep them. You struggle so hard to keep these good people. So
where do you find most of your employees?
I just find them on Facebook. I get advertised on there. I've done some personal recruiting through friends. See if there's anyone who's looking for a part-time gig. But it's a job for someone who's good to be independent on their own. Someone who just wants to work a couple hours by themselves. Good for people who are kind of more of a loner kind of type, who don't like working with people. So people like that.
And you said your youngest is 2
2
and a half?
Yeah.
So I know a little bit about this from prior conversation, but so in the middle of having a new baby, in the middle of this pandemic, you had this great idea. You saw another opportunity and started another business.
Absolutely.
Share that story with us.
Yeah. So during the pandemic, as we all experienced, none of us could go shopping or do anything normal anymore.
Wasn't that miserable?
It was terrible.
Back.
Like, it's weird to think back on it and be like, oh,
Like, was that even real?
We
Like,
lived
that,
through
We
that.
made it.
really
Yeah.
was. a
Yeah.
thing?
And I was an essential employee. So I wasn't a Zoomer. I wasn't able to work from home. I still had to go out and do my job. So nothing really changed too much for me. But a big thing that did
Steven,
change.
you're essential too. Gotcha.
So what changed for me was the online shopping, right? So we got all these boxes coming in, and they started piling up in my garage, and I just looked at this huge pile, and I was like, someone should do something about this. And then I was like, oh, I guess maybe I could do something about this. So a couple of years later, we started the recycling portion of our business, which we called Cardboard Only. You go onto our website, you book an appointment, we come to you. It's perfect for residential people who don't have like a normal recycling bin, or if they do, cardboard takes up all the space in it. It's a good one-time deal for people. It's like, okay, I'll come into your garage, I'll collapse it all, put it in the back of my truck, and go recycle it for you. And it's taken off. People have accepted it and been
That's awesome.
good with
What's the 2 questions for you? 1, what's the website?
cleanmissoula.com.
Cleanmissoula.com.
Yep.
And 2, do people ever call you Mr. Cardboard? 'Cause I think
No.
that'd be a great alias. A great
No,
name.
so I should have worn my my logo today, but I had a kid make a logo for me that I called Cardi B. It's a really cool. So I have to show you guys.
That's
but
awesome.
Yeah, that's our
But
mascot.
it's Mr. Cardboard. From
Yeah,
this point forward.
I like that.
So now you got 2 operating businesses. Are there ever days that you want to just go back to being an employee?
Yes, absolutely. And those are the days when
Do you ever want to go back to enterprise?
no, God no, God no. No, I rather die in HR hell than having to go back there. Just dealing with we went through a tough period a year ago where we lost like 2 or 3 really good employees that really hit home because I see my employees as like family at times. So when you lose good ones, it hurts. It hurts a lot, and so that's the part that makes me want to not do the job anymore. Is man, we lost this guy.
Yeah.
This sucks. And so how are we going to replace him? That's the part where it's like, this would be so much easier if I was just an employee. But those are the things you got to take on. And those are the things that you learn to get used to.
Yeah. Are you able to unplug, actually take a day off, or are you
I am now.
mentally always on?
It's so one thing I will say, I go to therapy. And one of the things I learned in therapy was that it's constantly clicking. And I didn't realize it was. And, she let me know. She's like, that's normal for entrepreneurs and business owners that you're always going to be on. And so the big thing that we work on is just being present, trying to focus. Right now I'm focusing on you guys as much as I can and not think about what I got to do tomorrow or tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to be as focused as possible helps quiet down that noise that's in your mind of like, okay, here's the things I got to do. But yeah, you capitalize on the times that you have. You maximize them of, okay, I got today off. What am I going to do today? Those are hard in the beginning because you want to grow. You want to be successful. You want to go. As you get forward and your family starts to grow, you're like, okay, take some time to step back and learn how to be present.
That's great.
Yeah.
What makes Missoula Janitorial unique? Why would a business want to work with you guys?
I like to say we're kind of small and boutique. We could have a good opportunity to grow really large, but I don't think that's kind of the niche that I want to be in. I want to be kind of this person where if you call me, I'm going to be the one to come out and see you. It's not going to be, a manager of mine or something like that. I want to try to keep that relationship personal, because I know if I had a business, that's what I would want. Is instead of a name and a number, I want a face.
Are you guys taking on new clients? Or
Yeah.
You're always looking to?
Absolutely, we're always
Yeah.
looking to grow. But we're always one of the beauties of being in sales, as you guys know, is when you have that ability to say no. That's when you made it. It's like if I have a job and they want me to bid on it, and I just know it's going to be terrible. I'm like, you can walk away from it.
Yeah.
That's one of the best things. And so we're at that point now, which is nice. So
Isn't it great when you find out like the one that got away ends up being so glad I dodged that bullet?
Yes. Oh yeah. I've been there a couple times. That's for
funny.
sure.
Well, it's just awesome. We love the entrepreneurial story, and I kind of want to go back for just a second
Sure.
to see if there was some indicators that this was going to be the trajectory of your life. So like you said, you grew up with entrepreneurs you had in Butte, and
Sure.
that is kind of an entrepreneurial town. It feels like
Yeah.
very independent. But
A
was
lot of
there
generational family businesses. I mean,
right?
that is Butte.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is awesome. I love that town. But was there any like indicators in your story growing up where you're like, I think I'm going to run a business someday, or I think I'm going to, help people, or
Right. You know, looking back on it, I think it's all very subliminal. So my first job was at 14 working in the tamale shop. My uncle would come pick me up at 5 in the morning to go bake and roll tamales. And that to me was just a job. But, subliminally, I'm watching him operate. I'm watching him answer phone calls. I'm watching him do all the gritty work at 4 in the morning that no one else sees. When you go to Orange Street Food Farm to buy Truzzolino tamales, you see the package, you see what it looks like, you take it home and you eat it. You don't think about the work that went into it, and that's what my Uncle John does. And he is so amazing. Him and his wife Janelle have such a great crew. It's a ton of work though. It's so much work. And so growing up in that environment, you kind of see that. And then my own dad, he was just kind of this, he was a hard worker too. He worked in the mines, he drove trucks, and subliminally, I think you're seeing that kind of like, okay, like nothing comes easy.
Mhm.
It's rare that something comes easy to you. You got to work hard for it. And, that's not always praised or appreciated or recognized. But so that builds in me anyways, it built an internal kind of confidence thing that's like I was my own kind of reward system, which not a lot of people have. A lot of people need that affirmation. With myself, it's kind of like um, cleaning an account and seeing it how it looks when I leave. That's my kind of like, "Ooh, that's my reward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great, looks good. And it's also nice that I get the majority of the paycheck too. So it's like that's my other reward. So it's like I worked hard for this. I get this
Mhm.
Yeah.
because I put in the work.
It's funny just listening to you. I guess not funny. I don't know why I said funny. It's listening to you talk from your story, the highs and lows, the things you've overcome, the lessons you've learned, that it isn't so much about the paycheck. It's not even about mopping a floor or having a job. It's your genuine care for people. Like you care for your employees, you care for your clients, you care for your aunt and uncle. Like your genuine care for people that's probably what's propelled you and taken you far, is that you take the time to just build a relationship through your sales days at NBC. Like
Yeah,
you care for people. Is that something you've always had? Was that something that as a child growing up grade school, you cared for others, or what?
absolutely. Yeah, I think that comes inherently with when you grow up in a good household,
Yeah.
where you find people that you have good family members, you have people that care for you. You guys have kids, right? Where
Yeah.
it's they absorb everything that you do. So if you have good examples, like what I did with my parents, like yeah, that translates into caring. And yeah, I had a good childhood.
It's really
So
awesome.
that
Well,
not all the people get that, and that's one thing that they have to learn later in life. But I think genuinely caring about people isn't hard,
yeah.
and you what you have to do is kind of take yourself out of it sometimes, and not take everything so personal. And that's one thing that again sales you learn real quick is like, oh, they're not saying no to me, they're saying no to the product or whatever. But and then you also appreciate how people respect your time too, where it's like, a no is better than a maybe. It's like just tell
Mhm.
tell me truth, and it's like okay, good,
Well, that's
good,
awesome. I mean, that speaks highly of your parents and your grandparents and
yeah,
generations before you. And
absolutely, yeah,
really
good
cool.
people.
I know there's a lot of people that are working jobs. It's not like you didn't like your sales job, but are interested in taking a leap forward or feeling stuck. They're afraid. They're nervous about the uncertainty. It is a leap of faith
Mhm.
into being a business owner. What do you say to those gals and guys out there that want to make that leap, but are
Right.
just a little bit too afraid?
It's a great question. So I went to college for business management, and in all those classes, they taught me about business. Right. I think I've used like 10% of that. So if there's someone out there who feels like they're not they can't succeed because they don't have a college education, or they can't succeed because they don't know how to run a business, that is so untrue. you can do this absolutely by yourself from jump with Google, the internet, and a little bit of hard work. It's so easy now to start a business, and it's so um, the information's there. You gotta try. And I understand why people would be afraid and hesitant, but what's the worst that can happen? Like you start start making cookies in your garage, and then it doesn't work. Like, okay, what else can you do? It's yeah. I've used very little of my education on what gets me to where I am now. What got me there was having support from people. What got me there was people encouraging me, and then also just a little bit of hard work. Like that's all you got to do. And people who are listening, probably in Missoula, this town is booming right now. It is booming like crazy. Money is flowing into this town, but also people are having a hard time living here. So I think we're going to move into this part right now where how I was back in 2016, where you feel like your back's against the wall. How do I get out of this? And there's going to be a bunch of entrepreneurs out there who are going to start their own things right now. And it's going to be, Missoula's going to see all the needs that we have now with these new people here are going to be met by these local businesses that are started. I hope that's where, that's what I hope to convey to people today is we need people like you, like Bradshaw in the last episode. We need people like him. We need wedding DJs. We need, we need people to cut our grass. We need people to pick up our dog poop. We need people like that. And it's easier now than ever to do that.
That's awesome.
I'm motivated. I'm inspired.
Yeah.
And I am amped up for our rapid fire questions. So Nathan, I know you've been a long time listener to the show, and thank you for that.
Yeah, we do appreciate that.
We appreciate that. So you know what's coming. So we'll just kick it off. Favorite coffee shop in Missoula?
Okay. So before I answer that, I want to ask you guys a question. You guys did a great episode on interviewing the 5 candidates for the mayoral.
Okay.
I have a theory that if you play that episode in reverse, asking them first what their favorite coffee shop is, you can tell what kind of personality they have.
Oh.
So all the mayors kind of picked, or mayor candidates picked, a coffee shop. And then you're like, oh yeah, that fits their personality perfect. So I encourage people to listen to that and be like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Makes a lot of
So
sense.
you're asking us to tell you what we think your favorite coffee shop is.
Yeah, go
That's
for it.
where you're going.
Yeah.
I mean, like the intensity here in Drive, like I feel like this is gonna be like a nitro or like high caffeine. I mean, he comes in here with the liquid death water. Like I knew what type of guy he was when he walked in. Okay, what kind of coffee shop? This isn't a trick question.
No.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't know where you live, but I'm gonna say Canby.
No.
Oh
No.
I'm gonna go. Loose Caboose.
Yes. Oh yes. That's
Yes!
perfect. No one has said that on the show yet, and I scream every time. I was like, someone say Loose Caboose. Like that is the best by
Right
far.
here, I got you.
Attaboy.
I
Yes.
got it.
Yes.
That is a well-ran business.
Yes. And going into marketing, like their theme song. Yeah, I ever heard it on the radio?
Yeah, the little jingle.
Yeah, I had a buddy singing it one time. I'm like, what the hell are you singing? He's like, it's the Loose Caboose song. I was like, they have a song? And so ever since then, I've been so brand loyal to him because of that stupid
That is
song.
awesome.
So yes, Loose Caboose is my jam.
So great.
Amazing.
So yeah.
Okay,
So good guess.
restaurant. Favorite restaurant.
So I'm a night owl, and the pandemic absolutely destroyed late night eating.
Isn't that frustrating?
That
Yes.
is
Right now?
so frustrating.
Yes. So the one that made it through that still kicks, the Pie Hole.
Yeah.
Sliced pizza, 3 a.m. I mean, sometimes that's when I get off, and they're always happy there. No one's ever in a bad mood. So I highly suggest the Pie Hole.
Cool.
Yep.
What zip code do you live in?
The 808s. So I'm a 80s drum machine. Yeah. And 808 is I've lived in just about all of them,
Mhm.
oddly enough, but yeah, I'm an 808 guy.
Awesome.
Weirdest thing about Missoula.
So this is a great one where I think one of the best pockets of weirdness in this town is Orange Street Food Farm.
Mhm.
So it's a grocery store. One of the weirdest things I ever saw in there was there was a lady in a rascal shopping. She put a 30 rack of PBR in there and just opened it up. started drinking while shopping, and she got kicked out. I was like, you have to be so weird to get kicked out of this store. And everyone's like, man, please, they were so polite to her. I was like, that is the weirdest thing I think I've ever seen in this
That's a
place.
great story.
To be so weird in the Orange Street Food Farm to get kicked out of there, I was like, yep.
Yeah,
that's
crazy.
Great.
That is Missoula.
Yeah.
Right there in that store.
On my list of things I've never done in Missoula, born and raised here, I have never been in Orange Street Food Farm.
What?
Ever.
Oh,
Now you got to go.
Ever.
yeah. It's great.
Yeah. I have not been in there.
Especially, well, you don't have little kids anymore, but the banana, when they come in the store, key to keep them busy.
The banana?
They have like a rack of fresh bananas that your kid can have a banana while you go shop.
Yep.
Crazy.
Awesome place.
Last question for you. What do you love most about Missoula? And you can't say the Mo Club.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's Missoula still kind of has that small town feel of community, but I had a conversation not too long ago with a friend of mine where he's like, we used to have to go to Spokane for concerts and shopping and all these big city things. We have that here now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we also have this weird feeling of still being local and personal with kind of big city kind of aspects.
Yeah.
I love that about this place where if you want to take advantage of that stuff, you want to go to the Kettle House Amphitheater, you can take advantage of that. Or if you want to just take advantage of your local small town farmers market, you can do that too. Yeah, I love that part about Missoula.
Random question. It's not one of our rapid fire, but maybe it should become, because I think it's a great question. What's the most recent book you've read?
Oh, so I've been binging all of the Game of Thrones books. I watched the show, but I was like, man, I really want to kind of listen more. But that's a great book. All of those are they're so highly detailed. But no, I haven't read any good books in a long time other than those.
Those are like 30-hour books. Right?
Yeah,
so those are
they're
perfect for your job.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you zone out to that, do my job, and burn hours away on those.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I got one more question. News came out. You're an alumni, Montana Tech. They're changing the name of Montana Tech. Did you see this?
Yeah.
How did you feel about that?
I hate it. Yeah, I hate it. Yeah, I'm always going to call it Montana Tech. And I actually had a friend correct me the other day on it, and I was just like, dude, it's Montana Tech.
Did you see that, Brandon?
I did not see that.
Lance School of Mines? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, something odd that is just going to confuse everyone. Because
everybody's going to call it
when I went to
Montana Tech.
school there, it was Montana Tech or the University of Montana Tech. And it's like, let's make it easy on kids,
Yeah.
It's a bunch of dumb engineers that go there. So it's like, they're already having a hard enough time there. And like, give them a break, man. So
That's awesome.
yeah, not like those Western Bulldogs.
Yeah, the real smart kids down there.
I got a couple buddies who went down there. So.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you being on the show, and thank you for just your devotion to the city and working hard. Is there any last?
Well, if people want to get a hold of you, see more about your business. Yeah. What's your contact info?
Absolutely.
Website?
Yeah. Go to cleanmissoula.com. That's where you'll find our janitorial and the cardboard only part of it.
That's where you're taking advantage.
That's where you can book the stuff on there. Yeah. So yeah, please go to that. And any parting words? I think people have confidence. There's always something in our way, right? And the biggest thing that's always in our way is not some enemy that we have out there. It's ourselves. So if we can find what we're doing that's stopping ourselves from moving forward, you're going to do great. You're absolutely going to do great. So I think Missoula's poised for growth in business.
Yes, man. Thanks so much for being here. Love your story. Thanks for the laughs. Great conversation.
Thanks, guys.